Hi, this is Jan Hibbard from Log Cabin Leather, and today I'm here to talk about how I started making belts 49 years ago. Belts were once I discovered leather, which was way back in 1977, belts were soon one of the first things I started making because it was something I could make for my dad. So, of course, when you're first starting out, you start to make things for your family members and things. I had discovered Tandy leather, which I had talked about in some of my other videos. And so these are the books that really inspired my belt collection. These two books are both by a man named Paul Burnett, and they talked about how to kind of line up geometric patterns and make them on leather. And so that really is what inspired me. The problem was, though, of course, the tools that it mentioned in here, most of them were not things I had. I mean, I started with a 5 tool kit and so forth, and I gradually started building up tools over time. But a lot of them, to begin with, especially, were not tools that I had. So therefore, I had to adapt the pattern to fit the tools that I had. So the patterns really became similar to what were in the book, but not the same. And some of these designs still, similar patterns appear in a lot of my stuff. Things with circular designs and so forth appear in many of my belts and so forth. So a lot of those, ideas still are inspired by what I saw in these books. This pattern, which actually I didn't bring down because the belt I made for my dad with this pattern. It's an 1.25 inch wide belt. It's something I still wear. It was my dad's. It's up in my bedroom. So again, that was inspired from that book, although mine came out a little bit different. One of the things I did not use that book recommends is the colors and things like that. So I came up very quickly with my own way of coloring things, which made it much easier. Leather dye is unforgiving. You get a drop in the wrong place and it's there permanently and you cannot get it off. So that was something I stopped using and came up with my own plan of action, way of method of coloring the leather. And the coloring that I do on my things really does make it stand out. I think the color on the patterns and things like that makes them stand out very much. It makes them very unique. And see, again, this is the one that has that circular pattern, which is very similar to what was in that book. Although I haven't the edges and how it's done it, again, but that circular design is motivated by what I see in those books. From there, once I started making the patterns, I started creating pattern cards. So I had all these cards for belts, and each one had a different belt design. And I write it down and put the pattern down and give it a number and all that. And pretty soon, for 1.5 inch belts, I was lettering them. I had literally gone through the whole alphabet. So now they were on the double letters. So I really began to make more and more designs. And after a bit, the cards were too time consuming and I stopped doing those and so forth. Of course, as time went on, my stock of tools went up. I really did not look at those two books too much anymore after I got a few years in because I really just started to make my own patterns. Many of the patterns today are made at craft shows when I'm demonstrating. I'll just have some belt strips and I'll start to make a design, which is what I do here. I start one step at a time, which I will be showing more videos about that or have more videos about that. But as time went on, also the quality of the tools went down. I mentioned Tandy leather was where a lot of my tools, back then, all of my tools came from Tandy leather, which is a worldwide company. But over the years, the quality of the materials went down. And these are, I have some worse ones and I could not put my hand on them because obviously they're not things I use anymore. But I don't know if you can notice that on camera, the bend in that handle, that's supposed to be straight. Can you see how it bends up? So I think that's supposed to be straight. So when you're trying to stamp this on something, you can't hold it straight. And I had some that were really, now this is one of my favorite ones. And so as you can see, this one is also bent. I've gone through several of these and you can try to hammer them out and straighten them out, which is why they're not too curved now because I actually did that. But it's still very hard to get the impressions proper. So that's the thing. So if you're interested in going into leatherwork, I would definitely say look online, look on eBay, find older tools that are going to be, even if they're rusty, you can, clean them up. They'd be better than the quality of some of the ones you get. Now, I'm saying from Tandy. There are other people that make good quality tools that you can get, and so forth. So again, the patterns certainly make my belts stand out from other people because they are unique, and really most of the time now they are one of a kind. I have a belt collection that will be coming out soon. They're all one of a kind. I'm releasing them all at once, but they're all one of a kind, and the only way I can duplicate that pattern is by looking at the picture of it and so forth when I list them online, because I really don't have any other way. So, and the other thing, I do customize things. So if you see a belt online and you like the design, but you want it in different colors and stuff, ask me. I am willing to do things like that. I do make belts in all widths. I have 3/4 inch all the way up to 1 3/4 inch. So, and all the quarters in between. So 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4. So you have all those choices. I also give you a choice of buckles. Now, way back when, I used to have the big fancy buckles. As a matter of fact, I had a whole huge display case. It's probably this big and 4 sides of it, and was filled with all those fancy buckles that you could buy years ago. Well, as time went on, those became very expensive and became less popular and so forth. So I did stop selling those. So now all my belts they all still have removable buckles. So if you have that kind of buckle and you want to put it on your belt, that's where I come in too, which makes mine different. But I also, mine come with center bar buckles. You have 3 different shapes. One is an oval shape, one is a rectangular shape, and one is what I call a horseshoe shape. It's flat on one end and curved like that, like that on the other. So, but the center bar buckles, you don't need to have the little leather keeper or anything, because it goes back under the buckle, which is what a center bar buckle is. The other thing that really makes my belt stand out is they are custom fit. When you order a belt from me, I size it to what you want. You don't tell me, well, my clothes, I wear a size, for a girl, I wear a size 12 or I wear a size 8. You measure your waist and you tell me that size, or you measure a belt you had. If you're giving a gift for another person, you take that belt, you measure. Obviously, these belts don't have holes in them because, see, I don't sell them with holes because the belt is going to be sized to the person when they buy it. So you take it, if this is where the hole is that they wear it now, for example, and this is too long for them, maybe they lost weight, most of the cases. Sometimes it's the other way around, especially if they have a fancy buckle they want. But that's the hole you're going to tell me. When I measure it, I'm going to measure there. Your belt loop on your pants is usually about here. I'm going to make the belt go a little bit longer than that, have a couple holes on either side. If you want me to adjust it differently, if you want the holes to be 3/4, I usually make my holes an inch apart. If you want them 3/4 of an inch apart, if you want them a 1/2 inch, if you want 10 holes instead of 5 holes, I will do what you want. So you just, when you order a belt, I will usually email you first to confirm the size and so forth like that, to make sure it's accurate before I'm going to send out the belt and things like that. The other thing that makes my belts a little different is I do burnish the edges. And a lot of, like when I go to craft shows and I kind of check out the other leather workers, which there aren't too many around, not in my area anyways. A lot of the belts, the edges are unfinished. This is an unfinished belt strip. This is a piece of leather belt. This is a solid color belt. It will not have any designs on it. And I have those in at least 5 or 6 colors. It depends. They're solid leather. They come from a beautiful company. All my leather comes from a company called Weaver Leather in Ohio. And it is beautiful, beautiful quality leather. But notice how square these edges are. That makes a belt a little uncomfortable. So my belts and everything, the edges are, and again, it's not really going to show on the camera, are burnished. They're rounded off. If I hold this side by side, now this is the same width leather and things, but you can see how these edges are more rounded. You don't see the sharp edge. They're dyed, they're rounded, and then they are smoothed off with a burnisher to make them nice and smooth on the edge. So that makes a big difference, really. So all those things make reasons my belts stand out from some of the other ones on the market. From my belt line grew my guitar strap line. So this line that's coming out this month has hand-tooled guitar straps as well as the hand-tooled belts. Guitar straps grew from the belt line because people saw the beautiful belts, or musicians did, and said, you should make some guitar straps with those designs like that. Those are absolutely beautiful. I'd love to have something like that. So I set out to research guitar straps and came up with a pattern and so forth. And of course, then I researched what problems musicians had. And of course, it was usually shoulder, neck, back pain, and so forth. So I tried to address those issues by putting very nice foam padding in the guitar straps. I started making them in different widths to accommodate different players and so forth. So I have guitar straps in widths from 1.5 inches wide up to 4 inch wide. I originally started with standard kind of straps, which are a straight strap, which are beautiful. You have your choice of lining, which can be either leather or suede. I personally recommend the leather because it's upholstery leather and is not going to absorb sweat and things like that, where a suede would, and you can't really finish suede or anything like that. But suede is not going to slide around. This one, if you want it to, your guitar and music, your instrument to slide around, will slide around a little bit. It's smooth. It will slide around on your shoulders if you wanted to, and so forth. They are adjustable. They all adjust here at the end and have slots and things, so you can adjust it to multiple lengths. But again, when you're ordering, like at a craft show, a young man was there and he, was looking for a guitar strap, and he put it on his back. And again, he was tall. He wasn't heavy, but he was tall. And when he put the strap around his back like that, this part of the strap ended about here on his back. And it's like, that strap is too short for you. You need to learn to make longer. I will make them longer to accommodate you, so the padding will cover your back. You just need to tell me the length. And like I said, then this part will adjust too. I will adjust that to the length you need. So if you tell me, right now my guitar is, my strap is 53 inches long, and that's what I'd like, I will do that. If you say my strap is this long and I'd like it to be a little bit longer, obviously these adjust. So I'll kind of set it for that. It's the middle, so you could go either way, things like that. But then more recently, after doing the guitar straps like that for many years, still, the complaint was that the guitar strap rubs on your shoulder, your neck rather, which is, why, again, the different widths for different players. And of course, the straight ones are certainly fantastic for a lighter instrument, or for somebody who doesn't spend a lot of time standing playing like that, like a real professional player. The straps I'm going to show you next are really the cat's meow for the professional players, pardon my old terms. It has a curved shape to it. And again, I made these a little bit longer to accommodate the size of your back. And I do have them in different widths. I think 2 up to 3, 2, 2.5, and 3 inch. What this does, it prevents it from rubbing on your neck. It keeps it in that crook of your shoulder, wraps around, so it just, attaches to your instrument here if you're right-handed. And then it wraps around between your shoulder blades in the back. And as you can see, this strap is a nice long length, so this, again, to accommodate, this would fit a little bit bigger person than me, because it still has a padding that's coming off my back. So that's what you're kind of looking for. You want the padding to cover your whole back, and then have the additional strap here, after that. So I can adjust them that way. The other thing with the straps, if you want your initials on it, if you have a logo that I can get, SVG file for it and copy, things like that, I can do that. And put that on your strap if you're interested in something like that. Also, like I said, colors. If you like this strap and you like this design, but your instrument has some blue in it, so you want this to have more blue in it than black, or things like that, I can do that. So those are all options that you get that you might not get other places. And again, it all started many years ago. I love making the straps. If you know musicians, these really do provide, everybody that has a strap of mine says it is incredible and really provides unsurpassed comfort. I am not a player, so I can't talk about that personally, but in any event, they provide unsurpassed comfort. If you want to find more about my product lines and what product launches I'm having and about sales and special promotions, become a VIP, join my email. There'll be a link below this or whatever, or depending on where you're looking in my bio or whatever, to join my email, and that will give you discounts and special early bird access to launches and things like that. Also, keep you informed. You get about a weekly email. That's going to wrap it up for now. Also, comments and things like that. Subscribe to my channel, follow me. Things like that really help a small business like mine grow. And if you yourself are not looking for a guitar strap or do not need a belt, then please let some other people you know that might be interested. That would really help, again, a small business like mine grow. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.